Start with Shedeur Sanders, because Mangini sure does. Not as a prospect, but as a gift the Browns seem determined to ignore. Mangini paints Sanders as everything the team says it wants. Steady under pressure, sharp with reads, commanding in the huddle. But despite this, the Browns continue treating him like a luxury they can afford to bench, rather than the answer staring them in the face.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
This isn't a debate about development. It's a failure to accept a gift because it wasn't packaged the way management expected. And that failure is symptomatic of a bigger problem. A franchise more concerned with being right than being successful. Mangini makes the case that when control and pride drive decisions, talent gets wasted. Sanders doesn't just deserve the shot. He is the shot. The only question is whether the Browns can get out of their own way long enough to realize it. Coach Eric Mangini didn't just criticize the Browns. He detonated a truth bomb that left no room for spin. His takedown of the organization's handling of Shedeur Sanders wasn't just scathing. It was surgical. A play-by-play breakdown of exactly how and why one of the most talent-rich teams on paper continues to fumble the bag where it matters most: leadership and decision-making. From the outside looking in, it's obvious. The Cleveland Browns have a once-in-a-generation talent on their roster. A quarterback with NFL-level poise, accuracy, leadership, and command. A guy who should be the centerpiece of the team's rebuild. But instead of handing him the keys, the Browns are treating him like a project, a developmental option, an afterthought. Mangini's critique tore that illusion to shreds. The Browns aren't following a process. They're hiding behind one. What they call strategic planning is nothing more than fear. Fear of accountability, fear of change, and fear of letting go of control. This isn't about giving Sanders time to learn. This is about executives not wanting to admit they've been outcoached and out-evaluated by a rookie who already looks like the best player on the field. That fear is what's driving everything. Every press conference, every delay, every carefully worded statement about culture and development. And what Mangini pointed out, what fans and analysts have been screaming for weeks, is that this isn't leadership. It's cowardice. Sanders has done everything right. He's shown leadership. He's shown consistency. He's shown that he's ready to lead an NFL team. But the Browns, caught up in internal dysfunction and corporate power games, are treating him like a liability instead of the asset he clearly is. And it's not just embarrassing, it's dangerous. Mangini didn't just blast a decision to bench Sanders. He exposed a deeper rot inside the franchise. This isn't just a mistake in judgment. It's a complete systems failure. The Browns aren't operating like a team with a clear vision. They're operating like a fractured organization at war with itself. Ownership wants one thing. The GM wants another. The coaching staff is stuck in the middle, trying to hold it all together without stepping on the wrong toes. That level of chaos trickles down. It infects everything. The locker room, the front office, the fan base, and when it hits the quarterback room, the nerve center of your entire football operation. You've already lost. This isn't a theory. It's happening in real time. The signs are everywhere. Mixed messages from leadership, conflicting reports from insiders, public comments that contradict behind-the-scenes whispers. It all points to one thing. The Browns aren't just indecisive. They're fractured. And instead of rallying around the best chance they've had at stability in over a decade, they're retreating into fear and ego. Sanders is the kind of quarterback teams build dynasties around. He's not flashy or overhyped. He's controlled, composed, reliable, the exact qualities Cleveland has been missing. But starting him would mean admitting that maybe, just maybe, their original plan wasn't the right one. And in this building, ego outweighs logic every time. That's what Mangini drilled into. The obsession with control, the unwillingness to be bold, the misplaced priorities that have haunted this team for years. And this time, it's playing out with the most consequential player on the roster. It's not just a missed opportunity. It's a betrayal of everything this team claims to stand for. They preach development, but they sideline their most developed rookie. They preach culture, but their internal chaos is leaking out into every interview. They preach long-term thinking, but their fear-driven hesitation is wasting the present. Nothing aligns. Nothing adds up. Mangini didn't hold back. He compared the Browns' decision-making process to a group project where nobody wants to take ownership, and it shows. Every delay, every half-answer, every PR-crafted excuse is proof that this isn't a team with a vision. It's a team trying to avoid criticism. But they're getting it anyway, because the media is done playing along. The fans are fed up. And the longer Sanders stays on the bench, the louder the outrage grows. This isn't just an unpopular decision. It's a full-blown PR crisis. And it's only getting worse. The front office's obsession with optics has created the very storm they were trying to avoid. They thought they could slow play the situation, ease Sanders in without rocking the boat. But the boat is already sinking. Because when your fans, your players, and your former coaches are all calling out the same failure in judgment, no amount of spin will save you. At this point, it's not even about whether Sanders is ready. That's already been answered. It's about whether the organization is ready to admit they've been wrong, to put aside ego, to trust the talent, to finally put football first. Because this isn't just a decision. It's a defining moment. Start Sanders, and you send a message that performance matters, that the best player plays, that you're serious about winning. Keep him benched, and you tell the world that politics matter more than progress, that perception trumps production, that the team's future can wait while the front office figures out how to save face. And the sad part? They're running out of time. Every week that passes is another opportunity lost, another day closer to a fractured locker room. Another nail in the coffin of what could have been the most promising Browns season in years. Because let's be honest, this isn't about development anymore. This is about control. And the people in charge are more interested in managing outcomes than building them. If Shedeur Sanders was on almost any other team, he'd be starting already. The film is there. The talent is obvious. The leadership is proven. But the Browns can't get out of their own way. And Mangini's critique made that brutally clear. The dysfunction isn't subtle. It's loud. It's visible. And it's costing them everything. They've turned a gift into a problem, a solution into a controversy. And unless they course correct fast, they'll lose not just a season, but a player who could define their next decade. Start Sanders. Trust him. Build around him. Because the longer they delay, the more irreversible the damage becomes. And if they blow this, if they let fear and dysfunction derail the opportunity that's sitting right in front of them, then they deserve every bit of the fallout that's coming. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it. If you're done watching this team trip over its own ego, hit like. Share this with every Browns fan who's tired of hearing development when they really mean damage control. And subscribe, because the drama isn't over. And we'll be right here breaking it all down every time Cleveland gets in its own way. Again, this isn't over. Not even close. And if the Browns keep dragging their feet, it won't just be their reputation that takes a hit. It'll be the future of the franchise. Because what they're doing to Shedeur Sanders, that doesn't just say a lot about where they are now. It says everything about where they're headed. Let's get one thing straight. Shedeur Sanders isn't some overhyped rookie still figuring out how to read a defense. He's not some wild card talent that needs babysitting and patience. He's not raw. He's ready. That's not speculation. That's not wishful thinking. That's what people in the league are saying. It's what the film says. It's what the locker room knows. And yet the Browns are still playing this bizarre waiting game, acting like giving the reins is some massive risk instead of the obvious choice. You got a quarterback who checks every box: accuracy, composure, leadership, presence. And instead of embracing that, the Browns are busy running PR drills and damage control strategies, trying to convince people that there's a process unfolding. But let's be honest, what's unfolding isn't planned. It's a meltdown, a slow, avoidable, painfully public meltdown. The kind of implosion that doesn't just disappoint fans, it alienates them. And Coach Mangini, he saw it all coming. He saw through the corporate buzzwords and the controlled messaging and went right to the core of the problem. This organization is afraid. Afraid to admit it's wrong. Afraid to lose control. afraid to let a quarterback take over unless they get to decide how, when, and under what conditions. But here's the thing about fear: it spreads. It creeps into the locker room. It infects the decision makers. It poisons the culture. And the Browns? They're drowning in it. Mangini said the front office was operating like a poorly run group project. And honestly, that might be generous. At least in a group project. Someone eventually turns something in. But what Cleveland's doing right now isn't just indecision. It's paralysis. Every week that Shedeur doesn't start is another week the Browns signal to the world that they care more about appearances than results, that they'd rather cling to power than let the best player lead, that their ego is more important than their win-loss column. And fans see it. They see the Browns treating Sanders like a backup plan, and they're not buying it. They see the chaos behind the scenes, the conflicting messages, the avoidance, the fear, and they're done, because this team has been here before, over and over. And every time it's the same story. Talent comes in, dysfunction pushes it out, and the cycle repeats. But this time, the stakes are different, because Sanders isn't just another player. He's a solution, the kind you don't get twice, the kind that, if you're smart, you drop everything to build around. But instead, the Browns are watching him from the sidelines like they're still undecided, still unsure, still scared. Mangini's words weren't just frustration. They were a warning, a final warning, that this franchise is standing at a crossroads, boldness or breakdown. And so far, they're leaning toward the latter. Because when you have a locker room that knows who should be leading, but that player is kept off the field for reasons no one can explain, that's not strategy. That's sabotage. And when the quarterback knows he's ready, but has to keep pretending that the process makes sense, that's not development. That's disrespect. At some point, this stops being a debate and starts being a disaster. The Browns are showing the world they still don't know how to handle a good thing, that they can't recognize success unless it fits neatly into their agenda, that even when talent walks through the door and does everything right, it's still not enough if it threatens someone's pride. That's not a football team. That's a bureaucracy. Mangini exposed it because he's seen it before. He knows what a broken system looks like from the inside, and he's trying to call it out before the Browns do what they've always done: waste a moment, blame the media, and pretend it was all part of the plan. It's not, and the league knows it. People around the NFL are already watching this unfold with a mix of disbelief and grim familiarity. Like, yep, classic Cleveland, which is wild, considering the team finally has a quarterback worth believing in. And they're still finding ways to mess it up. The longer they wait, the more the narrative slips out of their control. Every reporter questioning the delay, every analyst dissecting the dysfunction, every fan post that goes viral, that's another brick in the wall of public opinion that says the Browns just don't get it. And the scariest part? That wall is getting higher every day. This isn't just a controversial personnel decision. It's a reputation destroyer, a career definer, a moment that, years from now, people will look back on and say, that was a turning point. The Browns either step up and trust Shedeur Sanders to lead them into the future, or they cement their legacy as the team that had everything and let fear burn it to the ground. There's no third option, no clever workaround, no spin that can save them if they continue down this path. Start Sanders, and you show the fans, the league, and your own team that performance matters. That courage matters. That winning matters. Keep him benched, and you prove that nothing has changed. Mangini didn't say any of this lightly. He said it because someone had to, because the silence from the top is deafening, because the excuses are tired, because the delay is no longer defensible, and because if the Browns can't see what's right in front of them, they deserve the criticism they're getting and whatever comes next. There's no question that Shedeur Sanders is the Browns' best chance at success. That part's settled. The only question left is whether the Browns have the guts to admit it. And if they don't, if they let politics, fear, and ego keep this town off the field, then they better get used to more of what they've already built their reputation on: regret. Let us know where you stand. Are you ready for the Browns to finally do the obvious? Or are we watching the same cycle repeat all over again? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like the video if you're over the excuses. Share it with someone who's just as frustrated. And subscribe. Because until this team gets it right, there's going to be a lot more to say. The Browns aren't just playing with fire anymore. They're holding a lit match over the future of their franchise. And at this point, everyone watching can see the smoke rising. The Shedeur-Sanders situation isn't a football question anymore. That part's done. Settled. The film, the poise, the leadership. He's everything you want in a franchise quarterback. This is now a leadership crisis. A full-blown organizational identity breakdown. A case study in what happens when fear is stronger than conviction. Coach Mangini didn't just unload because he was emotional. He spoke out because what the Browns are doing is visible. It's transparent. It's laughable to anyone who's watched this league for more than 10 minutes. This isn't a team making a hard call. It's a team trying to save face at the expense of their most valuable asset. Because starting Sanders doesn't just make football sense. It makes all the sense. And that's what makes the delay so infuriating. There's no mystery. No complicated backstory. No tough battle in camp. He's clearly the best quarterback on the roster. The hesitation has nothing to do with ability. It's all about ego, control, and the fear of being wrong. And let's talk about that fear, because it's running the show in Cleveland. Fear of admitting past mistakes. Fear of losing power to someone they didn't handpick. Fear of seeing the entire structure shift if Sanders succeeds without their fingerprints all over it. This isn't strategy. It's self-preservation disguised as patience. What kind of leadership is that? What kind of team sees a player perform at this level and responds with delay, misdirection, and carefully managed talking points? Not a winning one. And it's not like the Browns haven't had chances to course correct. They've had plenty. But every time the opportunity presents itself to back Sanders publicly, to take a firm stance, to just say the obvious truth, they flinch. They mumble something about development. They talk about depth. They lean on words like structure, as if the quarterback room is some delicate tower of Jenga blocks that might fall if they acknowledge what everyone else already knows. The longer they avoid it, the louder the consequences become. You can feel it in the fan base. The frustration. The disappointment. Not just because Sanders isn't starting, but because once again, the Browns are proving that talent alone isn't enough in Cleveland. You need politics. You need protection. You need to be part of the inner circle. And even then, you still might get buried under the weight of organizational dysfunction. What kind of message does that send to the locker room? Because don't think for a second that the players aren't watching this play out. They're seeing who's working, who's showing up, who has command. And when the guy who checks every box still can't get on the field because of office politics, that's when trust starts to erode. And that's what Mangini was really warning about. It's not just about a delayed start. It's about what that delay means. What it reveals about the culture inside that building. When fear trumps merit. When indecision becomes a norm. When ownership and management are clearly on different pages. You're not just stalling a player. You're dragging down the entire operation. There's no scenario where this ends well if the Browns keep playing the long game for the sake of optics. You can't PR your way out of football failure. Not when the quarterback you're sitting is better than the ones you're playing. Not when fans are already counting the weeks lost. Not when the narrative is already written. And make no mistake, it is being written. Right now, the national story around the Browns isn't about hope or momentum or potential. It's about dysfunction. It's about wasted talent. It's about yet another quarterback controversy in a franchise that specializes in them. And the worst part? This one was avoidable. Shedeur Sanders wasn't supposed to be a controversy. He was supposed to be a clean slate, a new chapter, a chance to reset a team with a history of false starts. But instead of embracing that, the Browns are fumbling it all over again. Why? Because leadership in Cleveland still hasn't learned the one rule that actually wins in the NFL. You play your best player. You don't overthink it. You don't politicize it. You don't wait until the media drags you to the obvious. You do it. You act. You trust. You lead. But here we are, still waiting, still watching. Another week. Another round of excuses. Another round of questions the front office refuses to answer directly. And another week Shedeur Sanders spends standing on the sideline, knowing he's ready knowing he's the best option, and knowing that no one in power has the guts to say it. This is the Browns cycle. Talent arrives. Management stalls. Opportunity fades. And everyone involved pretends like there wasn't a better path all along. And if they keep this up, this will be remembered as the moment they lost the future, not in a dramatic collapse, but in a slow, boring, self-inflicted tragedy of silence and indecision. There's still time to flip the script, but not much. Start Sanders, not to save face, not to shut people up, but because it's the only thing that makes sense. Stop pretending the fans are too emotional. Stop pretending the media is misreading the situation. Stop pretending this is about development when it's clearly about control. And stop pretending the locker room doesn't know what's going on, because they do. Coach Mangini said the quiet part out loud. And he's right. The longer the Browns resist the truth, the more obvious it becomes that they don't trust themselves. And if they can't trust their own eyes, their own evaluations, their own quarterback, then what exactly are they doing? It's simple. Play the guy. Build the system around him. Make the bold choice. The right choice. Or don't, and watch this team unravel again. Watch the frustration boil over. Watch the fans walk away. Watch Sanders and everyone watching with him realize that Cleveland still hasn't changed. That this team still isn't serious about winning. So let's hear it. If you're done with the delays, if you're tired of the excuses, if you know Shedeur should already be starting, drop your thoughts below. Like the video if you've had enough of this slow-motion meltdown. Share it with someone who still believes Cleveland can turn this around. And subscribe, because as long as this dysfunction continues, we'll be here, calling it out, play by play, until someone finally gets it right.